Yes,
Who is recording?
it's me from my laptop.
So let's start.
Mhm. Hi, my name is Marina. So today we will be talking about understanding children's behavior in early childhood settings. So for the slide one, I will be talking about overview of the theorists Gunilla Dahlberg and Peter Moss and their work in early childhood education. So Dalberg and Moss are influenced by post-structuralist theory, particularly the ideas of Michael Foucault. However, their main focus is on applying these ideas to how we understand children and learning. So one of their key arguments is that there is no single universal truth about children. So instead of that, they believe that knowledge is socially constructed, meaning our understanding of children is shaped by culture, society, and different perspectives. So, because of this, they encourage educators to value multiple ways of seeing and understanding children rather than relying on one fixed idea of development. They also place strong importance on relationships, dialogues, and critical reflection. Learning is not just something that happens inside the child, but something that is built through interactions with others. This means educators and children learn together through conversations, shared experiences, and questioning. Uh, Another important idea is the rejection of one size fits all approaches in education. They argue that standardized methods often ignore children's diverse backgrounds, cultures, and lived experiences. So instead of that, educators should be flexible and they should be responsive to each child's individual needs. So finally, Dalberg and Moss promotes a strong and positive image of the child instead of seeing children as passive learners, and they view them as capable, competent, and active participants. Children are seen as co-constructors of knowledge, meaning they actively contribute to their own learning through their relationships and through their experiences. So, moving on to the slide number two, I will be talking about contextualization in supporting children's behavior in early childhood education settings. So, Dalberg's and Moss ideas can be applied to supporting children's behavior in early childhood settings. According to their perspectives, children's behavior should not be judged against fixed developmental norms. Instead of that, behavior is understood within social, cultural, political, and historical context. So that means a child's behavior is influenced by their background or their experiences of and the environment. Their work also challenges universal behavior management strategies. They argue that there is no single strategy that works for every child or for every situation. That works for one child may not work for another child. So, educators need to be flexible and adapt to their approaches for each child. So finally, Dalberg and Moss emphasize that behavior should be seen as a form of communication. Rather than trying to control behavior, educators should try to understand the reasons behind that behavior. So, for example, a child might be expressing frustration, or he or she might need some attention or difficulty in communicating. So, overall, their approach shifts the focus from simply managing behavior to understanding and supporting children through relationships, context, and reflection. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Muhammad Asad, and today I will be speaking about the relationship between the theorist work and relational pedagogy. So, first of all, I'll talk about Dalberg work challenges us to think differently about how early childhood education works. Instead of focusing on measuring quality and outcomes alone, we should think about how learning occurs. In Chapter 5 of Beyond Quality in ECE and Care, Delberg and her colleagues introduce the idea of the discourse of meaning making. This concept clarifies that education should not simply concentrate on fulfilling established norms or evaluating students according to set standards. Rather, it need to focus on understanding the learning process and how individuals understand their experiences.
in their experiences.
This connects slowly
This connects slowly
relational pedagogy because Delberg describes
that
learning as a
describes
process of co-construction where meaning is created through relationships um, and interaction with others. As the author explained, learning happens when people work together to make sense of the world rather than simply receiving knowledge from an expert. Tailberg also stresses that the value of communication and social participation. Teachers and students can exchange ideas and develop a deeper knowledge of their learning experiences through dialogue, reflection, and collaboration. Overall, Delberg's work supports relational pedagogy by highlighting that learning is shaped through relationships, communication, and shared meaning making rather than focusing only on measurable outcomes. Now I will move to Peter Moss. Peter Moss' work has a strong connection to relational pedagogy because he believes that learning occurs through connection, communication, and shared meaning making between children and educators. According to Moores, in Beyond Quality in ECE and Care, children should not be seen as simply recipients of information and knowledge from adults. Instead, they describe the child as a co-constructor of knowledge and culture. This means children actively participate in learning and contribute their own ideas and understanding. In this view, learning is not something that happens only inside a child's mind. Instead, children learn by talking and interacting with other people. The author
then
explains that knowledge grows when people connect with the world around them
around them.
and share ideas with others through discussions. It was Moore's work that introduced the concept of the rich child, which implies that
It implies that
see children as capable, curious, and full of
and
potential,
full of potential.
rather than as empty students who must be filled with knowledge. This changes how educators teach and interact with children. Overall, Moore's work supports relational pedagogy by showing that learning grows from relationship, dialogues, and collaborations between children and educators. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mitma. I'll be talking about the power in relationships. In this slide, I'm going to talk about how Dalberg and Moss understand power in early childhood setting. Basically, they say that the power is always present in relationships, like between educators, children, and families, and also it's not something fixed. It actually changes depending on the situation. Educators were seen as the ones with the most power, especially when it comes to controlling children's behavior through rules and authority. But Dalberg and Moss don't really agree with that. They believe that children are not passive learners, they are actually capable and active learners in their own learnings. So, because of that, power should not just belong to adults, it should be shared with children as well. Also, different
Also,
between
different
kinds of power.
kinds of
For an example, educators
example, educators
knowledge and responsibility. Children bring their ideas and choices, and also families bring their cultural values and experiences. When all of that is respected, it creates a more inclusive and balanced environment, and this also connects to the EYLF, especially the idea of building secure and
secure
respectful
and respectful
when children are seen as active participants in their learning. Moving on to the next slide. So now I'm going to talk about how sharing power actually supports children's behavior. When power is shared, it creates a more respectful and inclusive environment, and also children feel more safe and valued and also understood. Delberg and Moss suggest that behavior should not be seen as something to control or punish. Instead of that, it is more like a way children communicate their needs and like feelings. So instead of focusing on discipline, educators focus more on listening, guiding, and also building relationships with children. This also links to the EYLF as well, as it is also says in the outcome 1, the children feel safe and secure, and also in the outcome 3, where they develop self-regulation and emotional well-being. So overall, when educators share power and really listen to children, it helps support positive behavior and also helps children build confidence, a sense of belonging, and personal control. For the next part, I'm handing over to.
Hi, I'm Amanda, and I'll be discussing Moss and Dalberg's ideas about language and subjectivity and how these influence children's behavior. Moss and Dalberg explain that language plays a really important role in how children are understood. They argue that behavior is not fixed in the child, but is shaped through relationships and interactions. So the words educators use can influence how children see themselves. For an example, if a child is called naughty or stubborn all the time, they may start to believe that this can affect their confidence and behavior. They might stop trying, withdraw from activities, or continue behaving that way. But when we use positive language like you're still learning, it can help children feel more confident and capable. This also shows how educators have power through language, because the way we speak can position children in positive or negative ways. This links to EYLF outcome 1, where children develop a strong sense of identity. When children feel valued and respected, they build confidence and a sense of belonging. So instead of controlling behavior, educators should focus on relationships, listening, and understanding. Now, moving on to the next slide about subjectivity. Moss and Dalberg also connect behavior to subjectivity, which means how children see themselves. Children's identity develops through relationships and experiences. So, behavior is connected to how they feel and understand themselves. For an example, if a child feels frustrated or unheard, they may act out, but this can be understood as a communication. Instead of immediately stopping the behavior, educators should try to understand what the child is expressing. This changes the role of the educator from managing behavior to supporting children through understanding. Moving on to the next slide. Building on this, we can see how this supports children's behavior. It also shows how power works in relationships. When children are listened to and respected, they develop confidence and more positive behaviors. But constant labeling or control can affect their identity. This connects to EYLF outcome 1 and 3, as supporting relationships help children feel safe, support well-being, and build a positive identity. So overall, behavior should be understood through relationships, language, and identity rather than control. I'll now hand over to Mehma for the conclusion.
Yeah, so overall, this presentation helped us understand that children's behavior is influenced by relationships, communication, and also how power is shared. We agree with Dalberg and Moss because their approach focuses more on understanding children rather than controlling them. It also shows that when children are listened to and involved, they become more confident and engaged in their learnings. Yep, that's it.
Thank you. So